Okay, good evening, everybody. So nice to be here to speak to you tonight. It's warmer in here than it is out there. It's nice to be here. So what I'd like to go through tonight with you, if I could, is a lecture that I call The Hidden Secrets of the Ten Commandments, or the Ten Commandments as a Guide to Lasting, Enduring Relationships. And what I'd like to discover with you tonight is that perhaps the Ten Commandments themselves have a deeper message going beneath the surface, and that message really is addressing the primary issue of life, which is really how we relate, and whether it's relationship with God or whether it's relationship with each other. And to do this with you, I don't know anybody who knows my style a little bit, is I'd like to do the analysis with you, and if we could do that together, maybe we'll arrive at what I think are a hidden message that the Ten Commandments contains. So to do this, let's first review the Ten Commandments. Or let's do it like this. I'll read the Ten Commandments to you, and as I do it, I'm going to ask you to vote. If you were writing the Torah, if you were God, it'd be a nice job. I'm not sure I would want that job. But if you would like that job and you were writing the Torah, would you include this commandment? So let's start with the first one. Anochi Hashem Elokecha. I am the Lord your God. First commandment. To recognize that God exists. I am the Lord your God. It's not a commandment to believe in God. It's just a statement of reality. Good, bad, what do you say? Does it belong in the Ten Commandments? Yes? We all in favor of that one?
Yes.
Good. Okay, I'm with you. Second one. There shall be no other gods besides me. No other gods. No idolatry. What do you say? Does it belong there?
Yes.
Yes? Not bad. Okay. How about the third commandment, which is, you shall not take my name in vain? What do you think? It means not to swear. What does it mean, by the way? You know, it means you're not supposed to use God's name in an oath. What do you say, yes or no?
Not the Ten Commandments.
The third commandment. Don't use God's name. Don't make an oath with God's name.
I think it should be one of the 613 mitzvot, but not one of the commandments.
Not necessarily one of the commandments. Now, I'm going to make the question a little bit stronger for you. You know, there are two types of oaths that you could make in the Torah. One type of oath is an oath, for example, where if I want to be a really bad person, and let's say I owe you $10,000, and we go to a Beit Din together, and I take an oath that in which I deny, or let's say I shouldn't say myself, but the person denies in God's name that he never borrowed the money. That's pretty bad. He's using God's name to get away with $10,000. That's one type of oath you can make. Another type of oath that a person can make is an oath which, for example, to take an oath that this chair is a table, or that this floor is really the ceiling. That's the second type of oath. Which one of those type of oaths do you think that the Torah is referring to when it says, don't use God's name in vain? Don't make an oath. The first one, which says that a person is going to swear in God's name to try to get away with a lot of money, or to use God's name to say something ridiculous like the chair is a table. Which oath do you think the Ten Commandments is referring to when it says, don't use God's name in vain? I would agree with you. I would think it's the first, but guess what? It's the second one.
Isn't it?
Nope. Sorry, Diana.
You can swear God's name.
You can't. No, you can't. But it's not the oath that the Ten Commandments is referring to. The oath the Ten Commandments is referring to.
Mentally, a person would take oath,
Right.
the second oath.
What type of person would do such a thing, to take an oath that a chair is a table? Right. Who are we talking to? Good question. But I agree with you. I think that I would agree with you that if it says don't take God's name in vain, you don't take an oath with God's name, I would think it would talk about the first one. But it's not. It's talking about the second one. Very interesting. How about the fourth commandment? Fourth commandment is Shabbos. Shemor Yom Shabbos L'Kadisho. Guard Shabbos. Keep Shabbos. What do we say? Yes, no? Good. I agree with you. Good one. How about the fifth one? Kibud Av V'Em. Honoring your parents. Does it belong in the Ten Commandments?
Doesn't seem like it belongs.
Why? What?
I mean, it's important, but one of the 10 commandments.
Okay, good. Yeah, okay. I mean, as a parent, anyone's a parent, we appreciate that it is the fifth commandment, and as a result, we're able to say to our kids, I don't know, this is the fifth commandment. I don't know if we say it like that, but at least we feel the weight of it. But okay, I hear. But it's a funny. Okay, I hear.
First four talk about that.
First four talk. Right, it's a little problematic as we know what's it doing on that side. One would think that it should be on the other side, perhaps. If the first commandment is between man and God, what's the fifth one doing on the side of man and God? It should be man and man. There's a lot of explanation. We'll talk about it in a second. How about the sixth commandment? The sixth commandment is. What's the sixth commandment? Don't murder.
That's a good one.
Al tirtzach. Don't kill. Okay. I think that's a good one. Yeah, I have nothing against that one. How about the seventh commandment, which is not to commit adultery? Yeah, I think important. How about the eighth commandment, which is you shall not steal? What do you say, stealing? So what's the problem with that commandment? When the Torah says in the Ten Commandments, don't steal, does it mean stealing or kidnapping? It actually means kidnapping.
Wow.
Only means kidnapping. I'm sorry, Dan. I'm so sorry. I'm setting you here. I'm so sorry. But it's you're right. It means kidnapping. It's kidnapping. Don't steal is a different. There's a whole different. Those things. It's a whole different commandment. This is a commandment which says don't kidnap. Isn't that a little too specific for the Ten Commandments? I mean, kidnapping is a terrible thing. But, does it belong in the Ten Commandments? You don't hear so many cases of kidnapping. I mean, we hear a few, but stealing is commonplace.
Back then, there was a lot.
There's a lot. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know. Okay, but I think we have to keep that in mind. How about the eighth commandment?
That was the eighth.
Oh, that was the eighth. Excuse me. Thank you. How about the ninth commandment, which is...
Don't be jealous.
Oh, not yet. You shall not be a false witness in a court of law. Lo tiyeh re'ed sheker. That's to say, if your friend calls you to court to testify about something, you can't lie. Don't be a false witness. People can't bribe. People can't be bribed to be witnesses. If you're called to a court of law, you have to tell the truth. What do you say? Is that a good one?
It's a very important one, but I wouldn't put it in the Ten Commandments.
I'm with you on that one. Very important, but what's it doing in the Ten Commandments? That's number 9. Not to tell the truth in the court of law. Very interesting. I also agree that is that more important than perhaps Yom Kippur or I don't know kashrut or not to oppress the orphan or the widow or to give tzedakah, something like that? I agree. I think that's very specific. What's that doing in the Ten Commandments? Don't be a false witness in a court of law. And how about the 10th commandment? What's the 10th commandment? 10th commandment is lo sachmod, which means it means a little more than don't be jealous. It means don't covet. To covet means like this. For example, coveting is very specific. It has really 2 aspects. Coveting means jealousy. And one aspect is the desire in your heart that which someone else has. And halacha l'maisa, in practicality, it means that, for example, if you want to buy, supposing you have a plot of land, and you would like your neighbor's plot of land because you want to add an extension to your house, but your neighbor doesn't really want to sell. So you kind of put pressure on him. You get the rabbi to speak to him, and you kind of get friends every time you see him, like, why don't you sell that piece of land? Finally, the guy says at the end, okay, I've had enough already, I'll sell. That's a violation of lo sachamod, which is don't covet. You pressured it to do something he really didn't want because you wanted it. That would be in a violation of lo sachamod. In addition to when we desire things in our heart. We desire other people's possessions, other people's spouses, things like that. But practically, it's when we force someone to in fact sell property or to sell something or do something we don't want to do because we want it. Lo sachamod. So these are the 10 commandments. Let's review them. I am the Lord your God. No other gods beside me. Don't take my name in vain. Keep Shabbos. Honor your parents. Don't kill. Don't kidnap. Don't kill. No adultery. Don't kidnap. Don't be a false witness in the court of law. And don't covet. Don't desire that which someone else has. 10 commandments. How about that 10th one? Does that one belong there?
No.
I mean, it's a very beautiful commandment, but it deserves number 10. Danny, you're upset with that one. Why are you bothered by that one? You bothered by number 10? Yeah.
I was always like, it's just a thought, so it should be like...
It's a little too internal. It's in the heart. It has to do with the heart.
Yeah.
How can you command the heart? Number one, it's fascinating because it's commanding the heart, which is oftentimes pointed to, as the fact that if human beings would write the Torah, would they write a commandment which obligates the heart to this extent? Maybe human society could say, like, don't steal, don't kill. But to say, like, what's going on in your heart, that's a very private matter. It's only the creator of the heart who knows the heart, who's Boch and Kloim, right, can tell us what the heart has to feel and experience. It's very fascinating. But again, if we were a committee and we were writing the Ten Commandments, I think we'd probably leave that one out. Granted, it's a nice thing if you want to work on your shlemos, you want to work on your midos, you want to be the human being we're supposed to be. But like, is that one of the big 10, top 10? Yeah? It sounds a little bit too specific, and maybe it's a little bit too difficult. That's a bothersome one. Let's think about that. Okay, next question. And I mean this very seriously. Why did God need 2 tablets? Couldn't have God done what I can do on my computer, which is that I could take a very large print and I can make it small enough that I could probably fit it very neatly on half the page? Why did God have to specifically put these commandments in 2 different tablets? Wouldn't 1 tablet have been enough? Good question. Didn't God have a good enough word processor? Couldn't he have done it? So what do you need 2 for?
I think because there's two sets. The first set is Ben-Adam, between man and Hashem, and the second set is between man and
Good. So the fact that God wrote 2, if God gave us 2 tablets, he's telling us there's a natural division. And the natural division perhaps can be the first 5 between man and God, and the second 5 between man and man. That's a very good answer. Question, what's the problem with that answer?
The 5th one.
The 5th one, why? Because the 5th one, what's it doing on the side of man, and what's honoring parent? Right, honoring parent, one would think, should be on the side of man and man, not man and God. So it's a question that everyone deals with and everybody asks, and so different answers. One answer, of course, is because your parents are your links, so to speak, to God. 3 partners in creation. There's God, your mother and father. So perhaps they do belong on that side. I'll tell you a very beautiful answer. Maybe the division of the 2 tablets isn't man and God and man. Maybe the division really is on the first side. Those are mitzvahs between man and our creators. We have 2 creators. God is our creator and our parents are our creators. And on the second side is the mitzvahs between man and man. Maybe that's the natural division. Man and creators, man and man. Okay, I think that probably works even a little bit better. But here's the question that I want to get at. It seems that if God gave us 10 commandments, and many Sfarim talk this way, that the 10 commandments really contain the seed, so to speak, the DNA of the entire Torah. That you can learn out all 613 mitzvahs from these 10 commandments. So these 10 commandments are really the root. They're the root directory, as it were, of the entire Torah. So these 10 are very, very significant and very, very important. So how does it work? Why these 10? Perhaps a hint to why these 10 is because a statement that we know our sages say. Our sages teach us, they say, if you could teach me the entire Torah in 1 line, what would that 1 line be? What's the one underlying principle of the entire Torah? V'ahavta l'recha chamocha. To love your friend like you love yourself. And don't do badly to your friend. Do to your friend like you would like done to you. Our sages say that is the underlying principle of the whole Torah. V'ahavta l'recha chamocha. To love your friend like yourself. But let me ask you a question. If that's the underlying principle of the Torah, what's the problem with that? What's the problem? Where's God? Where's God? So it answers one side of the Torah. It says, well, if loving your fellow man is the principle of Torah, that takes care of, well, my relationships with my fellow man, that's these 5. But what about the first 5, which is man and our creators? Like, where does that fit in? How does V'ahavta l'recha kamocha explain how that is the underlying principle of those 5? So our rabbis asked this, and Rashi actually says it in Gemara and Shabbos, and says that Hashem's also your friend. He's also Re'acha. And be careful how you treat Hashem. Do to Hashem like you would want done to you. If you ask somebody to do something, you'd like that person to listen to you. We would like people to acknowledge the good that we do for them. Treat Hashem also like you would like done for you. Realize He's also your friend. There's a relationship with Hashem that's very similar to a relationship with a friend. So very interesting. If the underlying principle of the whole Torah is to love a friend, and our rabbis say, well, sometimes that friend is a human friend, and sometimes that friend means God. But the underlying principle of the whole Torah is to love, to have a relationship with another. And if that's the underlying principle of the Torah, it must mean that the 10 Commandments are the means to which we're supposed to achieve that love. Does that make sense? If our rabbis tell us V'ahavta l'recha kamocha is the principle, that is the first base of Torah. That's what Torah is all about. To love. Whether it's you loving a human being, otherwise loving God. But it means to love. So if that's the underlying thought that really unifies all of Torah, so perhaps we could suggest that the 10 Commandments must be the means to have that relationship. And let's see if we can prove that point. I think it works in thought. It makes sense in theory. But let's see if we could analyze the 10 Commandments and see if we could discover what those relationship principles are and how the 10 Commandments express them. Now I want to tell you something that the Sifrei Kabbalah say and the Midrashim say. They say that the 10 Commandments were written on, we know, two tablets. But the 2 tablets actually were like this, but they folded in on each other. What does that mean? It means that commandment number 1, therefore, aligned itself with commandment number 6, commandment number 2 to 7, commandment number 3 to 8, commandment number 4 to 9, and commandment number 5 to 10. Do you hear what I'm saying? That we have 5 on this side, 5 on this side, but it says in the Midrashim that they would actually fold in on each other. You could fold them together, and they could face each other. So 1, so to speak, corresponds to 6. There's a relationship between 2 and 7, a relationship between 3 and 8, 4 and 9, 5 and 10. That's an interesting thought. Because if that's true, it means that 1 and 6 have something in common, 2 and 7 have something in common, 3 and 8, 4 and 9, 5 and 10. Let's see if we can discover what they have in common. And see if we can discover from that certain principles. What's commandment number 1? Anochi Hashem Elokecha. I am the Lord your God. What's commandment number 6? Lo tetzach. Don't kill. Okay, everybody, go solve that one for me. What is recognizing that Hashem is your God and not killing? What do they have in common?
A little bit of God, like God. Everybody has an existence in God, so don't kill.
Oh, so that's a beautiful answer. That to kill a human being, in essence, is really killing itself. Elokim. A human being is created in the image of God. Very true. And we have to understand that. That's what it means, 100%. And I would definitely say that. Other suggestions?
God is the creator, and if you kill, it's like you're saying, there is no God. There is no creator. I can do whatever I want.
Interesting. That's interesting. Interesting thought also. Interesting.
When you murder somebody, you don't want to have anything to do with that person. You don't want to acknowledge their existence. So too, the first commandment is I am God. So acknowledge me. Do not abandon me until you say.
Interesting. I think everybody's hitting a little bit. I I'd say like this. If the purpose of the 10 Commandments is to tell us how to love and to tell us how to relate. And if a relationship with a human being and a relationship with God is really the same formula, because as our rabbis say, God is also your friend, and therefore just like you relate to a friend, try to relate to God. So let's see what could be the first ingredient in a relationship. What might be the most fundamental first step in having a really solid and successful relationship? I think the first step is to recognize that the other exists outside of you. Step number one. The other exists outside of you. What does it mean when we say Anochi Hashem Elochecha? Basically we're saying like this: God, I recognize that you exist. You exist for who you are. You know, there's two ways one can have a relationship with God. You know what that is? One way it can be is because, God, I really need you. Look, I want to be successful in life, and I want to have parnasa, and I want to have material possessions, and I want to have all the things that I want, and I want a good shidduch, and I want it all. And I know you're the source of it. So God, therefore, you know, I recognize you exist because I need you to provide for me. That's somewhat of an immature relationship with God. Immature. Because the highest level of relationship with God is really saying, God, I recognize that you exist outside of me. I love you not just because of what you do for me. I love you because of who you are. I love you because of your midos, of your kindness, your chesed, your giving, your compassion, all the things that we aspire to in life. That's what you are. That's what you are. And I love you for who you are, not just because of what you do to me. I recognize that you exist outside of me. That's very interesting. That's very important, by the way, in human relationships, by the way. You know, you can have a human relationship also like that. Why do you love the other person? You love the other person, what they do for you. You know, you provide for me, you take care of me. You know, rather than looking at the other and saying, I love you for who you are. You know, and I'll tell you like a sad reality. I've had cases where parents have not wanted to put their kids in special education. You know why? Because it might hurt the shidduch of the older kids. Is that a sad reality? Because what's that saying? You know, if you really love the child, you do what's best for the child. The child exists outside of you. The child is his own entity, and you love that child for who the child is. If you love the child because of what that child brings you, he brings me kavod, he brings me honor. You know, and therefore, look, if he goes into special ed, like it's going to hurt, like the way people look at our family, and might affect shidduchim.
But unfortunately, it's true.
You know, I have a rule in life with all this nonsense. I don't get into it at all. I ignore it. I don't know if it's true or not true. It could be. We have to, like, you know, live our lives as if it's just ridiculous, and we do what's right, and we pretend it's not there. And we have enough muna b'tachon and Rabbanu Shalom that when we do what's right, will bring to us what we need. That's the way I've chosen to live my life. I've chosen to ignore many of these statements. Yes.
I think also a lot of
What's that?
I think a lot of the times the parents don't want to believe in that. They probably
Right, they don't want to believe it. It's not always that, right? Right, a lot of parents, right. Sometimes it hurts the parents because it reflects on me. But if you love the child, you exist outside of me. And therefore I'm going to love you for who you are. And not just for what you bring me. Real love means that you recognize the other exists outside of you. Anochi Hashem Elochecha. I am the Lord your God. I exist outside of you. I'm not only here to provide for you and to be the great candy man in the sky. I exist. And we have to try to love Hashem just for who Hashem is. You know, and I'll tell you a secret. That's why Hashem leaves a lot about Him that we don't understand. There's plenty about Hashem that we do not understand. And sometimes people say to me, Rabbi Kraft, you know, especially in outreach work, they say, you know, how can you want me to have a relationship with Hashem, you want me to love Hashem, how am I supposed to understand Hashem? You know, when I understand Hashem, you know, that's when I'll follow Hashem. I don't have to say it like that exactly, but, you know, I mean, I love Hashem with all my heart. You know, do I understand the Holocaust? Absolutely not. Do I understand why there have to be homicide bombers in Yerushalayim? I don't understand that. Do I understand why some children die young? I don't understand it. But you know what Hashem is telling me? Hashem is saying, Mordechai, Kraft, if you want to love me, what you have to love about me is the part you don't understand. Because if you can only love what you understand about me, who are you really loving? You're really loving your mind's definition of me, which is really you. Real love begins when you recognize Hashem exists outside of you, or the other exists outside of you. Sometimes I think, by the way, I think it's a true thought. When we say Shema Yisrael, what do we do with our hands? Cover our eyes. Why do we cover our eyes?
Concentration.
So concentration is definitely a beautiful reason. There might be another reason. What are we saying when we say Shema Yisrael? Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Hashem, you are one. Oneness means that there are no accidents in this world. I don't stub my toe down below if it's not for you. Right? Now, a person doesn't get hurt in this world. A sickness doesn't come to this world if not for you. A war doesn't begin. A bomb doesn't go off. A Holocaust doesn't occur. Yet what are we saying? Hashem, you're one. It's all you. So why do I cover my eyes? You know why I'm covering my eyes? Because Hashem, I'm saying, the reality is, if I want to understand that everything is you, I'm totally in the dark. I really don't see it. And if I don't see it with my eyes, I'm going to have to let my heart go beyond my eyes. That's called emunah. I'm going to have to trust things that I do not know. Where my intellect can't grasp, I'm going to have to love you nonetheless. That's called emunah. Hashem, I'm in the dark. I don't know. My heart is going to have to go beyond my mind. And that's really where love begins. Love begins with Hashem when we recognize Hashem exists outside of us. He's a separate being. And we're not going to fully understand Him. But we're going to understand that we don't understand. And we're going to love Him nonetheless. And in human relationships, it's exactly the same. I'll be honest with you. I have no idea. I'll say it like this. I really don't think that organic carrots taste any different than regular carrots. And I don't think the organic eggs taste any different. I always pretend that the organic chicken, maybe it does a little bit, but I don't think it's worth the price. I'm sorry if I'm offending anybody. I'm really sorry. I apologize. But, if my wife wants it, so, that's what she wants. So really my love for her begins where I don't understand her. If I'm going to love her for what I understand, who am I really loving? I'm loving my mind's conception. That's me. What you have to love about the other is what you don't understand. You exist outside of me. You're not me. Step number one in relationship is you have to recognize the other exists outside of you. They're not you. They're their own person. And they're not there only for you. Our job is to give to them. Our job is to appreciate who they are. And not just look at them as a vehicle to give us some sort of meaning or joy. They exist totally separately than who we are. That's the beginning of any real relationship. And how interesting it is, by the way, that commandment number 6 is Lo tirtzach. Don't kill. What perhaps is the greatest negation that the other exists outside of you? Or I should say it like this. If a person takes a gun and shoots somebody, what are they saying? You have no real existence. You have an existence that I could play with, I could toy with, I could take away. You have no independent existence. Your life is really meaningless. The negation of what it means to recognize another exists outside of you is to destroy that life. If you realize, if a person recognizes, wait a minute, that person is a world. They exist outside of my desires and whims. It would have been worth the world was created only for them. Can you take a gun and shoot that person? We're talking about murder. We're not talking about self-defense or anything like that. So if the beginning point of a relationship is to recognize the other exists outside of you, the opposite of that, of course, is to murder. To murder, in a sense, means that I have control over you. I can rule whether you live or whether you exist or don't exist. That's the counter opposite of it. Do you hear how it works? So I think relationship principle number 1 is recognize the other exists outside and independently of you. Existence of other outside of you. And that's the connection between Anochi Hashem Elokecha and Lo Sirtzah. It's teaching the same principle. Recognize existence. In the world of man and creator and man and God, it means I am God, I exist. I'm not just here for you. I exist. Love me for who I am, what you don't understand about me. And perhaps in its most extreme expression, the world of man and man, to take a life is complete denial of existence of other. Existence that the other exists outside of you. But the principle is the same for both of them. Recognize the existence of the other outside of you. Good? Okay, let's take a look at commandment number 2. And commandment number 7. What's commandment number 2? Commandment number 2 is no idolatry. And commandment number 7 is no adultery. How interesting. They're very similar phonetically in the English language. No idolatry, no adultery. What's the connection? What links those two? It's cheating. They both have to do with a lack of exclusivity. The second principle of a relationship is it has to be exclusive. You have to realize that other person has a uniqueness that nobody else has. And you love the other. Let's go in the world of God. God is saying, listen, no idols. Don't find any substitutes for me. Why does God get so upset about that? God, why is he so upset about the idols? The answer is because God knows if you want a relationship with him, you have to recognize his uniqueness. And as long as you're going to try to always look for something else besides him, you're not truly going to look for the uniqueness in God. What does adultery say? Well, I'll tell you what adultery says. I don't mean to be in any way disrespectful, but the biology of human beings is, how should we say? The biology of a human being is all the same. It's all the same. If a person really recognizes that the other has a uniqueness, a specialness, that means that person is irreplaceable. He's irreplaceable. How could you commit an act with another person? Like, what's going on over here? It means you're not looking to see the uniqueness in the other. If you're looking at the other and just looking at that person as some sort of body, well, yeah, there are many bodies out there, and they're, pretty similar. But if you're looking to see essence, you're looking to see the uniqueness of somebody, that the person is irreplaceable. So God is saying, you want a relationship with me, recognize I am totally unique. There's a uniqueness about me that can't be replaced, and don't try to find a substitute. No idols. And if you want a human being, and you want a relationship on the human world, I want us to say also that it has to be exclusive. There's uniqueness, something so unique about the other, and it cannot be replaced. But it means that a person has to look for uniqueness. You have to discover uniqueness. Now, it's interesting, by the way, why is adultery perhaps such a why is it such a big problem in society? And obviously we look in the world and we see this is a problem that plagues the world. Why is it so much a problem? I'll give you a very interesting answer. It's because if you're really looking deeply at the uniqueness of the other, and you really want to love another for who they are, it means you have to make yourself vulnerable also. You have to really expose your own uniqueness. And you have to open up. It's much easier to look at something external about somebody else and think that there's a really deep relationship. As long as a relationship is built on that externality, so to speak, well, I guess externality is always replaceable. It can be exchanged. Uniqueness can never be exchanged. But the difficulty about looking at what's special about someone else, it means you got to really dig deep into the other person. And perhaps it means you got to dig deep into yourself also. I think a lot of people are scared to do that. I think it makes them feel very vulnerable and afraid. And as a result, they'd rather settle with something a little more external. But once you relate to something external, well, body parts are interchangeable. It could be this person, it could be that person. But a deep relationship means that you got to take that chance and got to look for uniqueness in the other. And when you see that uniqueness, you got to realize it's not exchangeable. There is nobody like this person ever. As we say, who can be a brother to my brother like I'm a brother to my brother? Who could be a father to my children like I'm a father to my children? Who could be a husband to my wife like I'm a husband to my wife? It doesn't work. But it means you have to see uniqueness. You have to look in and you have to find it. But I do believe that people, on some level, are a little bit afraid to do that. Because when you go deep and really discover what's unique about the other, I think you got to find what's unique about you. Maybe people are afraid to do that a little bit. Maybe they don't feel there's anything unique about themselves. So they relate to something external. But that could be interchanged. So what's the principle? The second principle is exclusivity, uniqueness. Look for the uniqueness in the other. Number one, recognize the other exists outside of you. They have their own existence. And principle number two is look for the uniqueness. Focus on the uniqueness of the other. In the world of man and God, it means no idols. In the world of man and man, it means no adultery. Because you're looking for what's unique. There has to be exclusivity. There has to be privacy in this relationship. This relationship cannot tolerate outside interference. There has to be something very, very special and very, very private. The outside world doesn't belong there. It's a very, very special, private relationship. That's what it means to really have exclusivity. Don't bring in people or things that don't belong there. Why? Because they don't belong there. You can't exchange. There's a uniqueness that only you can see. Now, this has very practical, consequences, and certainly in marriage, it's very important that husbands and wives conduct themselves in ways in which they show their spouse that they really feel their spouse is completely special and unique. It means a lot of things. I'll tell you, the yeshiva where I'm from, the Chafetz Chaim. So our Rosh Yeshiva always encouraged, not to encourage, he felt very important that you always address another woman by Mrs. It's not Sally and Shirley and Susan. It's Mrs. Steinberg and Mrs. Schwartz and Mrs. Cohen. And he felt the tznius of it and the modesty of it. He felt it for many reasons. But I think a deeper reason behind it really is you're communicating to your spouse that only you and I talk on a first-name basis. There's something very unique here. There's a uniqueness that only we have. There's a specialness.
Even if they're like friends?
So I'm not giving it as a psak halacha.
Not friends.
I know.
Like...
I know what you're saying. It's difficult. It's difficult because you have friends and,
We live in America.
We live in America, right. It's hard.
Really?
It is hard. I agree with you. It's a very difficult thing. It's an awkward thing to do. Someone comes and says, what's your last name?
Levy.
Mrs. Levy. It feels a little distancing in a sense.
Yeah.
It feels a little distancing.
Even like bosses sometimes prefer you to call them by their first name.
Right. So that's problem. It's problematic. No. So once time we asked the Rosh Yeshiva, Henech Leibovitz, we asked him this question, and we said, in the world of being a rabbi, so if you want to, have a relationship with your students and your congregants, if you're always going to be calling them like Mrs. Levy, and Mrs. Cohen and Mrs. Yugadayev, Mrs. Shimonova, Mrs. Shamshayev, Mrs. Chaimov. Am I doing okay over here? Did I get everybody? We said, doesn't that create a distance, like an artificial distance? And therefore, so he answered us in a very interesting way.
I just can't imagine calling,
Right.
my friend's husband,
Right. Miss Rabbi.
Sir,
Right.
whatever.
I know what you mean. It's difficult. It's difficult, and maybe it's difficult to put into practice. But at least think about what it means. It really means like this. I remember his response to us. We said, like, doesn't that create a distance? And how do you help somebody or develop a relationship with somebody if you create that distance? And his answer was very, very, I think, brilliant. He said, once you set the boundaries, then you can create the relationship. As long as there are boundaries, then you can get close. If there are no boundaries, then closeness is a dangerous thing. Right? Once you have boundaries...
What do you mean by boundaries?
Boundaries means as long as it's Mrs. Levy, so we've set a certain distance between us. Once we've set that distance, now there's room to talk. Now there's room to talk. Now nothing will interfere. Now there's not going to be mixed messages. We've already established very clearly there's a very distinct boundary. And the boundary is very important. And I think at the same time, what it communicates to spouses is the idea that there's exclusivity. You're the special one. And how important that is to communicate that. And certainly, there's no room at all in marriage, I guess, ever to praise the beauty of another woman. I tell the chassanim this, all the girls are aware, I tell them this. I'm very hard with them, very hard with the boys. I tell them this all the time. There's no room in it. Never, ever do you praise someone else's. Because it's not sneers. But it's just so terrible for the marriage.
Or someone else is cooking.
Right, something right, yes. Good b'chari. But yeah, so someone, you're right, someone else's cooking is never good as your wife's. That's right. It's never as good as your wife. Your wife she's always the best cook. She's always, and she should do the same thing. She should never, maybe it doesn't need to be said. But for a woman to praise this guy, oh, he's so good looking, it doesn't make the rest of us feel too good, look, I'm not giving psak halacha here. I'm just voicing my own opinion, and my opinion, isn't worth that much.
Like if a rabbi is big, makes an impact in your life, you shouldn't say that to him.
Even with rabbis, takshivu tov, ladies. Even with rabbis,
You shouldn't praise a rabbi?
your husband is your main rabbi. Your husband is your main posek. He's your main rabbi.
But it says
What
your
if your
husband's
husband's
not
not
your
religious?
rabbi.
He's not a rabbi. He's not religious. Well, he shouldn't be married to him. Am I talking to the wrong crowd over here? Am I talking to the wrong crowd?
Not your rabbi.
No, okay, listen, there's a very fine line of demarcation here. On the one hand, you need a rav, 100%. You need a rabbi, always need a rabbi. But at the same time, you're building up your husband in the process. What I really admire about you is the humility that you have to always ask a shayla if you don't know. That humility really makes a big impact on me. Do you hear what I just said? That's a difference than, I'm going to ask the rabbi, No, there's no room for that. Your husband, he's your rabbi. He's not a rabbi, but whoever he is, he is the most important person in the world. And he has to feel that. Even if he's just a schlep, whatever he is, like me. He's a nobody. He's, but still in your eyes, he feels in your eyes that you think he's somebody. And that's what I'm saying. There's two ways to ask the Rav a shayla. You can ask the Rav the shayla I'm asking the Rav who knows everything, or I know you're such a Baal Emes. This person is always looking for truth and always trying to do what's right. Could you do me a favor? Could you ask the Rav the shayla? Because I know you're such a person of truth. Wow, sure. I want to Baal ask. That's the way I ask the Rav the shayla. Do you hear the difference? Very important. Don't mess that one up. Don't mess that up. Men are very sensitive. Men have big egos. Easy to crumble. What's that?
What, for example, if the wife gives to the husband, but the husband doesn't return it the same way to the wife,
mean,
they continue to do it?
I mean, he's not showing the same type of appreciation for you and exclusivity to the wife. Yeah, you should still do it. Still do it, and sometimes teach him. Sometimes men need to be taught this lesson, and say that it bothers me if you're speaking about somebody else, or something like that. Some men just know that it hurts my feelings. Sometimes men need to know that message. They'll say why, they shouldn't say why. They should understand that. But the Ten Commandments are teaching us that. Commandment number 2, no idolatry. Commandment number 7, no adultery. And I think the underlying principle is there has to be exclusivity. A marriage requires that there be something very private and special. You look for the uniqueness in the other. It can't be replaced. And you're doing everything in the marriage to bring out that uniqueness. That I'm only looking at you. That I admire you. Nobody else. Nobody else. Even the Rav. The Rav's wonderful, but you're wonderful because you respect the rabbi. That's what I respect about you. You're able to respect somebody. You have to convey that message.
So it's really loyalty because there's a uniqueness in everyone.
There's uniqueness in everybody, but what marriage or any deep relationship means that especially in a very deep relationship, there's something very special and private. You see the uniqueness in the other. That's what it means. There has to be uniqueness. I recognize that there's something that can only be special about you. Only you have this special thing. And it can't be replaced. It can't be replaced by anything else. That's what adultery is. It can be replaced. It can't be replaced. And of course, I think the counterpart of that is, or the other side of it really means that there has to be complete exclusivity. We have something very unique and special and private, and no one else can interfere with it. Keep it very private. With God, it says no idols, don't mix something that doesn't belong. And in a human relationship, it means don't mix people in. And there are many ways we do this by mistake, which isn't just through, God forbid, a terrible act, but subtly we could do that. We could bring people in who don't belong there by praising other people or commenting about other people, things like this. Men shouldn't do it in front of their wives, and wives shouldn't do it in front of their husbands either. And then be careful. But again, don't get me wrong. It doesn't mean you don't go to the Rav. You need the Rav. Extremely important. Extremely important. Right? Every marriage needs a rabbi, 100%. But again, your husband, he's your rabbi also. He's also your rabbi. If he's a rabbi or not a rabbi. You admire him because he wants to go to the rabbi. He wants truth. He's so humble, he's willing to ask shilas. It's not easy for men to do that, believe me. Not easy. Men have egos. Okay? Yeah. He doesn't go to a rabbi? I mean, do you have a rabbi that you'd like to go to? Or you'd like him to go to?
I'm not married.
Not married yet.
I know many friends of mine that their husbands sometimes don't like to go to rabbis because they feel like it's
Right.
like how do you get to them? How do they get to husbands to feel like they need to be a rabbi?
Right. So it's a good question. It's a good question. It's not so simple. You have to really appreciate sometimes that they don't have all the answers, the need for an outside person to arbitrate and to give advice. It's not always so simple.
And they need to explain to them that
Yeah, to encourage. But the thing, if a woman encourages it in a way that, that there's a very negative way of saying it too. The negative way could be that, I really don't value your opinion. And then, of course, the husband's never going to want to go to a rabbi. Why should I go to anybody? She doesn't value my opinion. I want her to value my opinion. But I really value your opinion. I value who you are. I really respect what you're all about. And I know you're such a person who wants truth. Let's go together to hear what the Rav has to say. I respect you so much because you want it. You want to get at what's really right. Who doesn't want to go to a rabbi? And I'll tell you, I'll tell you a trick. When I speak to husbands and wives together, I always build him up. I make him feel great. He's the Rav. He understands this. That's right. He's asking the shaila, because I want her to realize that I respect him. So I want her to. I do that also. That goes without saying. But she should understand that he should feel good about going to the rabbi. He should feel good about it. He should feel happy about it. Okay, let's keep moving here. So number 2 is no idolatry, no adultery. There has to be exclusivity. There has to be recognition of uniqueness in the relationship. Okay, number 3. Let's see. The third commandment is don't take God's name in vain, which means don't swear in God's name that this chair is a table. And commandment number 8 is don't kidnap. That's interesting. What's the connection there? No connection. What's the connection, everybody? The first 2 are pretty good. Let's try this one. Yeah. Good, beautiful. When you're kidnapping, what are you doing? Well, let's think for a second. What is kidnapping? There are 2 types of stealing. One type of stealing is to steal, is to take possession of something. To take somebody's body is that's the ultimate theft in a sense. the ultimate violation, the ultimate denigration, that you respect what belongs to the other. One way to show disrespect is to take a person's, to borrow their sweater without asking. But to kidnap, it means that you have no appreciation for the property of the other. If God has property, as it were, perhaps it's His name. The whole world belongs to God. But God has a name as well. Perhaps to take God's name and to swear that I don't owe you $10,000, that's bad, but at least I'm using God's name for something valuable. But if I take God's name and I say, and the person swears that this chair is a table, basically what are you doing with God's name? You're dragging it through the mud. If God has a possession, so to speak, it means perhaps it's His name. Maybe the third relationship principle over here is respect the property of the other. Respect that which belongs to the other. Maybe it has to do a little bit with the first one, which is recognize the other exists outside of you. And number two, recognize the uniqueness of other. But maybe now as we get practical a little bit, maybe what it means is respect the other person's property. With God, it means respect His name. Don't drag His name through the mud. Don't swear in His name that this chair is a table. And when it comes to the human world, don't just take their body. Don't kidnap. Respect. Respect property. Now, what I think this really means, on a deeper level, is that all relationships to function well, like we were talking before, require boundaries. They require boundaries. Even very intimate relationships, like marriage, require boundaries. Just because we're married doesn't mean we don't say please. It doesn't mean we don't say thank you. And it doesn't necessarily mean we take something without letting the other person know about it. We treat the other with at least as much respect as perhaps we might have treated him or her before we got married. You're right. In marriage, there's a certain point where there is a certain understanding. You don't have to ask. We do. That's the way we live. But at the same time, there has to be a cognizance of boundaries. There are boundaries here. Just because we're very close, there's still boundaries. I still say thank you. I still say please. I still ask you if I could use your thing. Do you mind if I use it? Men are more sensitive to this than women. Where's my this? Where's my that? But even with God, God is saying, look, you want to get very close to me. Closeness with me also means there's boundaries. Understand that a boundary means don't take my name and drag it through the mud. Just, there have to be certain... Closeness doesn't just mean like we're so close nothing matters. When you're really close, everything matters. Do you hear what I'm saying? Don't kidnap. Don't drag God's name through the mud by swearing falsely. Respect the property. Respect that which belongs to the other. You need boundaries in the relationship. There has to be an appreciation of the other, what belongs to the other. Right? Just because we're close, it doesn't mean we've lost sight of little things like respect for property. Respect for what's yours. A very important, I think, principle. Respect the property, which means respect the boundaries of the other. You're tired. You need to sleep. I'll talk to you in the morning. Right? I see that you had a bad day. Like maybe now's not the best time to talk. Respect the person's boundaries. We can't just trample on each other. Got to tread lightly and delicately. Respect property. Respect what belongs to the other. Their time. Their possessions. Their feelings. Those are all things that belong to us. Yeah, question?
Yeah. Why is it that if the chair and table, when you're swearing that something's above
right.
the commandments, but not...
Right, because, to swear, for example, that, for Reuben to swear in court in God's name, he makes an oath in God's name, I never borrowed the $10,000 from you. At least he's using God's name to try to achieve something. But to swear that a chair is a table is such a disgrace of God's name. Use God's name to say something so ridiculous, so stupid.
What if you're trying to achieve something and you're lying about it? Like, let's say you swear that you didn't kill someone because you're still, it's like still worse that you're achieving something wrong.
Right. Okay, that might even be a little better. This person's trying to get away with something. You're trying to protect the person's feelings. You're trying to maintain your dignity. But to swear at chairs at table is so ridiculous. It's just such a misuse of God's name. It's the ultimate dragging God's name through the mud. It's like saying God's name, your name is so meaningless, I'm going to use it for even a stupid sort of thing. You want to do something good, like at least to say, he didn't kill. He didn't get away with a murder, something. Protect his life. But
So like the first kind of swearing, at least you're doing something with
productive. You're doing productive, right?
The second way, you're just
Completely wasting his name, exactly. Okay, but I think relationship principle number 3, everybody. Respect the boundaries and property, that which belongs to the other. Just because you're close doesn't mean you trample. Okay, let's keep moving. Are we doing okay? How about this one? Do this one for me, everybody. Commandment number 4. Commandment number 4 is Shabbat. Commandment number 8 is number 9. Commandment number 9 is, we're at 8 or 9. Where were we? 8. No, 9. 9. Right, boundaries. Right, we have number 1 is existence. I'm Hashem your God, don't kill. Number 2, idolatry, adultery. Number 3 and number 7 was right? Good, right. And now we're on Shabbos 4 and 8. 4 and 9. Which is keep Shabbos and don't be a false witness in a court of law. What's the connection over there? Shabbos and don't be a false witness in a court of law.
When you keep Shabbat, you're a witness that God created the world.
Testifying.
Beautiful. Everybody hear that? Anything want to say? No? Everybody hear?
Can you say
Hear it? What is Shabbos?
Testimony.
Shabbos is a day of testimony. What are we testifying?
God created the world.
What do we say in Kiddush Friday night? When we say Kiddush on Friday night, first of all, why do we stand during Vayechulu? Because we're witnesses. We're witnesses that God created the world. So Shabbos, we are actually acting as Adam. That God is both the creator of the world and He's actively involved in His creation. How do we see that in Kiddush, by the way, Friday night? Well, let's see. In the first part of Kiddush, we talk about God as being the creator. And then all of a sudden, in the middle of the Kiddush, we switch and we say that, thank you, God, for taking us out of Egypt. God, you're the creator of this universe. I'm going to testify to that. And I'm going to testify to the fact that you're actively involved in every moment of your universe, as can be seen by the fact that you changed nature when you took us out of Egypt. Those are the two testimonies of Shabbos. You're the creator and involved in your creation. That's what we're doing on Shabbat, and therefore we're not going to be creators. We're going to cease creative activity in order to testify that you are the creator. Good. Commandment number 9 is don't be a false witness in the court of law. If somebody needs you, when you go to court, tell the truth. Tell the truth. Be truthful. Be a truthful witness. Now, why is that so important? What's going on over here? What is the relationship principle that seems to unite Shabbos and telling the truth in a court of law, or not being a false witness in a court of law? What's the underlying principle that connects them? Or that's so essential for relationships to work? Yeah. I would say just a little differently. Look for what's true about the other. Look for truth. Now, what does that mean, look for truth? Looking for truth does not mean to be nitpicky. I see you did this. I see you did that. That's not what truth is. I'll tell you what truth is. Well, let's look. What's the word for truth in the Hebrew language? Emet. Anybody seen my lectures? Ever heard the lectures? So, why is Emet Emet? Why those 3 letters, the Aleph, the Mem, and the Taf? Beautiful. It's the first letter Aleph, it's the middle letter Mem, and it's the last letter Taf. What's truth? When you see the whole picture. You have perspective. You see beginning, you see middle, and you see end. That's truth. If you're going to look at one part of the story, you're not have truth. If you're going to focus on one detail, that's not truthful. Truth in marriage or truth in a relationship means what? I mean, you're looking at the whole picture. He came late. He forgot to call me today. It's my birthday. It doesn't mean he's a terrible guy. He has a lot of redeeming qualities. See things in perspective. See the truth of the situation. See the whole picture. Don't focus on one detail and exaggerate it. Oh, he's always this. He's not always this. Sometimes this. A lot of times he's very nice. With God, it's the same thing. And a question I get often, people say to me, Rabbi, listen, I have a difficult time relating to God because I don't understand the Holocaust. Okay, good question. Good question. Good question. We'll talk about it. I have some lectures that we can do it, but it's a good question. But you know what I always say back to the person? I say, listen, you have to be fair with God. I said, have you ever known a day where you've been hungry? No. Have you ever known a day where you haven't had proper clothing? No. Have you ever known a day where you haven't had a nice place to sleep? No. Have you ever known a day where your heart hasn't beat in a perfect regulatory cycle? No. Have you ever known a day where your cells haven't done mitosis perfectly? No. I said, listen, if you want to be critical about God, you have to be honest with God. You got to also point out all the good things God does for you. And the reality is, 1940, 1945 were only 5 years. The world's existed for 5,770 years. Most of the time it's good. Most of the time it's great. Most of the time it's kula chesed and love and rachamim. Yes, sometimes they're difficult. That's part of the plan too. And we know it. We can understand that.
But those difficult times don't give you confidence to be confident in the fact that it will always be good.
Sometimes
You're
that's right.
Scared even when
right.
it's good. Like, oh, it's going to go bad.
Part of the test of the difficult time is to love God even when it's difficult, and to realize how vulnerable we are and fragile we are and how much we need God, and not to feel so independent of God. But I say to people, listen, if you could ask me the tough questions, and you have a legitimate right to ask those questions because they're difficult questions, but I said you have to do me one thing. You have to be fair with me. If you want to focus on what's difficult to understand about God and God's din, you got to focus on God's love also. You got to appreciate all the goodness He's doing for you. You got to look at the whole picture. If you're going to look at one little part of the way God asks din with sometimes in this world, yeah, you might get stuck. But if you look at the overwhelming entire Aleph, Mem, and Taf, the whole picture, wow, it's a world of beauty and love and chesed and goodness. And most of my life is like that. Most of your lives are like that. You have difficulties, I have difficulties, we all do. But most of our lives are really, really great. The fact that we're here tonight, right? That we're breathing and talking and living. And our minds are working properly and we're walking, right? We say like Ezu Asher, not just a Semek B'chelcho. We say, the Gemara says, who's an Asher? Einayim shenayim yadayim raglayim. If you have your eyes, your teeth, your hands and your feet, Einayim, right? Shenayim, what? Ashir, yadayim raglayim, Ashir. You're rich. Everybody here, Baruch Hashem, you have your teeth, right? You can chew. You can see. We can ambulate. We can walk up those stairs tonight, right? That's beautiful. We're rich. So you got to see perspective. Rule number 4 in relationship is you have to see what's true about the other. You have to look for truth, and truth means perspective, which is very interesting, by the way. In the Hebrew language, we know that the word for falseness is what? Sheker, which happen to be 3 letters that are right next to each other in the Aleph Beit. Right? Kuf Rei Shin, but Sheker's in the wrong order. Shuf Shin Kuf Reish. But what's interesting is there are 3 letters right next to each other, because that's falseness. You're looking at one detail and you're building a whole world around it. No, you got to look for truth. In the world of man and God, it means Shabbos. Testify what's true about God. In the world of man and man, don't be a false witness in the court of law. Tell the truth. Look for truth. Because recognition of the big picture, recognition of what's true about the other, is essential for that relationship to succeed.
Can you one day come back and speak about how to understand when bad things happen?
What's that? Okay, another topic, another night. I'd be happy to. I'd be happy to. Sure. Reserve me, another topic. Another night will be when bad things happen to good people. We'll do another, but you're right, we need an hour at least, or more. But let's take a look at 5 and 10. What's 5? Now, I'm going to suggest to you something. I think this is the most important one. Commandment number 5 is honor your mother and father. Commandment number 10 is lo sachamod, don't covet, don't be jealous, don't desire that which someone else has. What can possibly be the connection between lo sachamod, don't covet, and honoring parents?
Sometimes you wish you had other parents, but you have to be thankful for what you have.
Yeah, my kids feel that about me a lot. But it's not bad. Let's gloss that one. What do we say? That's a good point. What do we say? What could be the connection? Let me hear some connections. Yeah.
So like I said before that parents are part of our creation. So like whatever we were created with is what's best for us, and we shouldn't be jealous of what someone else has because that's not what we were created with. So
Interesting. You're saying something very interesting. Something very, very interesting. Other suggestions before we flesh it out further? Yeah.
Maybe it's about like valuing the other person.
Oh.
If you value the parent, like if you have respect and value the worth of the other person, and you're not jealous of what they have because you want them to have the things that they're supposed to have.
Interesting.
But keep it on the aim. If you respect and value your parents, then
Nicely said. Nicely said. Good. Saying very good. Let me say what I think might be a theory. Why would a person desire what someone else has? What's really at the root of it? Unhappiness with who? With self. If a person is being chomed, a person is desiring that which someone else has, really at its core it means that a person really doesn't value that they have something totally unique about themselves. The degree to which a person recognizes that I am a unique creation who was created at a special time, at a special moment, with my tchunos, my qualities, my characteristics, something which nobody else has, a face that nobody else has, a soul that nobody else has. The degree to which a person recognizes the uniqueness of themselves, of their own mission, will be to the degree to which a person will not desire that which someone else has. See what I'm saying? The sickness of desiring what you have really means that I don't really appreciate that I have something special. If I realize that my mission in this world is so unique that no one can copy me, no one can do what I do, and no one has been created like me, I don't need your car. I don't need your money. I don't need your good looks. I don't need your spouse. My mission requires that which only I can achieve. And when I can achieve, God will give me my own laboratory. My laboratory of operation is not your laboratory of operation. And they never overlap. You know, it says, even they don't even touch up to a hair's breadth. There isn't even a hair's breadth of overlap. We have completely different laboratories of operation. And you're getting exactly what you need for your success and for your mission, and I'm getting exactly what I need for my mission. But if I feel there's nothing really unique about my mission, that my mission is really sort of like, I don't really have a mission, I'd rather have your mission. I'd rather have what you have. What the core, what the heart of desire, of jealousy, really stems from a lack of appreciation of self.
So why do we dive in?
What's that? To help me, because God's saying one of the ways we get the material that we need to achieve our goals is prayer. We got to work and we got to daven. Prayer is ishtadlus. But what we're asking for God is help me with my mission. Give me what I need for my mission. Not that I should have more, but I need what I need for my mission.
It's not saying what I have is not enough.
It's saying that I want to achieve my mission. And to achieve my mission, I feel I need X, Y, and Z. I achieve my mission, I feel I need a spouse, and I feel I would like the capacity to give to children and bring Jewish children. I need some chill wealth to make it happen. I need to speak to the project manager to help me get going.
But if you're in your laboratory, you're going to need a spouse anyway. God will give it to you. You don't have to.
Yeah, sometimes you got to ask. Asking is ishtadlus. One of the ways we get what we need is through prayer. God created the world like that. Just like He created the world that if you want to make money, you got to get a job. Prayer is also ishtadlus. You got to ask.
If somebody bought a nice house, can you dive in? Then you should get a nice house also.
If you feel you need it for your mission, but not because you're jealous of what he has. Do you feel like I really want to have guests, and I really want to be able to do chesed and be atnasas harachim, and I really feel that my family needs more space, we'll have more shalom bites in the home, and a big house would help me. God, please give me the money to help me make it happen. But if I'm davening for it because, look, it's not, he gets it, he gets it, she gets it, yeah.
What's a better way to pray? General or specific? Like, Hashem, please give me whatever you think is best for me, and I should accept whatever you think is best for
Right.
me. Like, or Hashem, please give me whatever money. Hashem, please give me a car.
Right.
So I think that's a little bit.
I think, it's in general, it's important to daven in general. Like especially by shidduchim, right? For sure. Shidduchim, you always daven in general. You never daven, make it work out with this person. Maybe it's the wrong person, or it could even be that God so listens to our prayers, He might give you that person, and it might not be the best person. So in general, we should daven, in more of a general statement. However, if we're really davening with sincerity for things that we feel it's what God wants, then perhaps we can ask for things also. And we can, God, look, I feel I need the money to add an extension to the house, because we could have more guests. We'd have a guest room would really make a big difference. And, if this is what you want from me, God, make it happen. This is what there's a way to say it to God, I feel, in which we're demonstrating that we want what He wants for us. But when our goals and our will is His will, and the less selfish it is and the more altruistic it is, I think the more specific we can be. It's not about me. God, I'm doing this because I want to do more mitzvahs with it. I want it to happen. If we feel that we're asking is somewhat self-serving, then perhaps we have to be careful. And I think we know in our hearts when we're doing that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah?
So al-tahmad means you don't want to have, like let's say you see somebody got something, and al-tahmad means you shouldn't want what he has exactly, or
means I don't have that feeling in my mind, because he has it, I deserve it, I need it, because she has it, I want it.
But it's not that he doesn't have it. Like if I don't have it,
right. Right.
Like if I don't have it, he shouldn't have it, or if he has it, I should have it.
Sometimes the feelings overlap a little bit, But be very happy that person has, and if my mission requires it, God, then give it to me. But I'm totally comfortable that this person has it. I don't feel that tinge inside me. Ooh, I wish I had that. Why did they have what I don't have? But let me just finish here. I want everyone to hear this point. I think it's very important. Listen to this point. I think this is maybe the most important rule. When a person is jealous and is covetous of somebody else, it really stems from the fact that there is a lack of appreciation that I am unique and I have a special mission. Something totally special about me. Now, what does that have to do with honoring parents? Well, I'll tell you something about honoring parents. The Torah never says you have to like your parents. I hope you do. But you have to honor them. What does it mean to honor them? You have to make sure they have food, they have clothing, they have all the material needs they need in life. Make sure they have shoes. You have to respect, you have to give them the kavod. You don't have to like them. It never says like them, it says honor them. Now, I hope because of our sense of gratitude and appreciation, these are the people who have spent the best part of their lives taking care of us, that we do like them. And we have tremendous gratitude, which builds love and like and all that. But the Torah never says that. It doesn't say love them, it says honor them. And you know why it says honor them? Because why do we have to honor parents? You know why we're honoring our parents? Because they brought us into this world. In other words, the degree to which I realize that I am important and my coming to this world was significant is the degree to which I'll honor God's vehicles who brought me here. If I feel I'm a nobody, I don't deserve to live, and I'm just generic. So why should I honor these people? I wish I wasn't here. What's unique about me anyway? But the degree to which a person says there's something totally unique about me, totally special about me, and these two human beings were God's vehicles to bring me into this world because I am special, is the degree which we will honor. That's to say, honoring parents really is a reflection on the honor we give to ourselves. That's what the Torah says. You never have to like them, but you got to honor them, because when you honor them, you're really honoring the fact that there's something unique about you. They brought you into this world. And because you're unique, you have to honor the people who helped bring you there. You know what I'm saying? That's, by the way, why honoring parents is so critical, so crucial. because it really reflects on how we feel about ourselves. I remember that, I don't know, Dr. Laura. Do you ever listen to Dr. Laura in the old days? Used to be a psychologist on the radio. Then she got kicked off. She was pretty good for a while. But she used to say that, that adopted children should not try to find the birth parent. She used to say, pretend the birth parent doesn't exist. And you're just going to get hurt anyway. And just relate to the parents who raised you. And there's some wisdom in that, and I'm not going to deny it. However, I do feel that the natural need of a child to know the birth parent is so important, or is so burning. You know why? Because if a person really wants to feel that there's something special about them, they need inside themselves to almost touch the people who brought them here. If you brought me into this world, I want to show you some gratitude. I know you weren't so great to me, you weren't so good to me, you left mom at, when I was a little baby, I understand that, but you really messed up in your life, I recognize that, and you probably hurt mom a lot. But you brought me into this world, so I want to express my gratitude for that. Because I'm important. And to deny a person that ability to recognize their own importance, I think can be destructive in some way. Do you know what I'm saying? Commandment number 5 and 10 are all built around the following principle. The principle is that in order for a relationship to work, you have to see what's special about you. In the world of man and our creators, it means you got to honor your parents because there's something special about you. In the world of man and man, it means don't covet because what you have is completely unique and completely special, and no one else can live your life for you. You are totally different and special and unique. But what's it saying about relationships? It's saying that in order for relationships to work, you have to realize there's something totally special about you. And perhaps that's the most important one of them all. Because if you want to have a relationship with God, guess what? You got to realize that there's something unique about you. Otherwise, how can you feel God? How could I possibly, know you? You're so perfect. And so good and so wonderful, and look at me. But if I recognize, wait a minute, there's something special and unique about me, I can also relate to God. Yeah.
I don't understand. How do we realize this? How do we realize what's special about you? When we know you?
How do we discover it?
Yeah.
That's an excellent question. That's an excellent question. If I'm saying that for human relationships to work, they have to begin from the point that, there's something special about me. Before I answer that question, let me just say that I think the reason why is because in order to have intimacy with another human being, a person has to feel worthy of being loved. If a person doesn't feel worthy of love, how can they ever appreciate the other really loves them? And at the same time, if a person feels that they're unique and they're special, they'll look at the other person and reflect back that way to them. If I'm special, you're special too. But that worthiness of feeling loved, I can't be loved. I'm worthy of being loved. I'm worthy of the love that you give me because there's something unique and special about me. That has to be at the heart of every relationship. And that originates at the point of recognizing that your mission is completely unique. Now, how do we get there? What's your name? Dina. So Dina's asking an interesting question. How does one arrive at that realization?
Through your life, you see what's special about it.
So, I'll tell you the easy answer is, of course we know it. As we know, we have different faces. That means we have different souls. We know that we entered this world at a time when it was exactly the right time for us. We certainly feel in our lives that there's something unique about me. I think one of the greatest insults that a person can give any one of us is to say, you're like everybody else. I don't see anything different or special about you. That might be the most hurtful thing you could ever say to somebody. You know. So I know inside myself that, yeah, there is something unique. I look different than everybody else. I have this feeling inside of me that I'm unique and that I'm special. But in terms of discovering, you know, really what it is, how do you discover it?
Can't be dependent on other people say, because that's not you.
Yeah, you have to know it from within. You have to know it from within. You have to grab onto it.
What's special about you? You notice that you compare to other people, or maybe a very good friend. You could ask them, "What do you see special about me?"
Right. That's good advice.
Put down things you never thought of. Oh, you have a great smile. You're always friendly.
Right. You know, there's a great rabbi in Yerushalayim. He passed away, of Volba, and he used to say to the guys. I remember in the old days, he used to say to us. I heard him say this. He said that, you know, for the first 10 years of your life in the yeshiva, he said, don't bother working on humility. Don't work on humility. Humility. Don't work on humility. He said that humility isn't our problem. He said the problem of our generation is that we don't appreciate the greatness that we contain within us. And he said the first 10 years of your growth in yeshiva, he used to say, go inside yourself and discover what's really great about you. And focus on it. Don't worry about gaiva. Don't be afraid to feel good. Don't be afraid to say, like, I'm really good at this. Like, I really have this. You know, after you've done that for 10 years, then we'll work on humility. Then we'll try to keep the ego down a little bit. But that's not our problem in our generation. You know, perhaps we live in a generation, you know, where individuality is something which is so easy to lose. You know.
So how can we discover our mission?
So mission is really another area, but you know, it also takes a lot of internal work. You know, there are two ways to discover it. You know, one way to discover it is to see where we naturally tend to be good at. Naturally tend to be good at. Things that we gravitate towards. You know, I really like this. This touches my neshama in a certain way. Another way to discover mission is interesting, by the way. The areas in life that we have the most difficulty with. The areas in life that we have the most difficulty with could be the areas the Yetzer Hara is really putting a lot of pressure on us. Because that's the area we have greatness in. You know, I'll tell you a secret. That I once have gone through about a number of years when I was in Kolo, yeshiva, feeling that I'm a failure as a teacher. Many years where I felt that way. That there's no way I could teach Torah. I'm going to be a failure as a teacher. I had that feeling for many years. And once I started teaching and getting out in the world of Rabbanis, I hope my purpose in life is to teach. I hope you enjoyed the class tonight. But I hope what I was supposed to be doing is to teach. So I realized perhaps that the Yetzer Hara was working on me in a way exactly where the area where I was supposed to perfect myself. Telling me that's you got to keep you down. So sometimes it's a good idea to look in the areas of life which are difficult, and don't give up in those areas, because that might exactly be the area we're supposed to really come out.
So like your mission can include working on being more prompt to someone who's late?
Yeah, it could be part of a mission. You know, part of a mission. You know, whatever it is. The mission has many aspects.
It's not necessarily one thing.
Right.
It's a bunch of
things that what you can offer the world. You know, a person has to ask themselves this question daily. You know, Hashem, why did you create me? Why am I here? Why did you create this Jewish person as part of this, you know, Jewish family? What is unique and special about me? What can I offer that nobody else can offer? Now, it's not difficult. That doesn't come overnight, by the way. It doesn't come overnight. There's a lot of work that has to go into that. But you have to be asking that question. You got to ask that question. So one of the questions they're going to ask us on Rosh Hashanah, right? Rosh Hashanah. We're going to come before God. So it says one way we come before God. It says we come before God like one at a time, it says. Like going through a narrow mountain pass. It means you come before God one at a time. God looks at you and says to you like, so, you know, I created you to be you. Who are you? You know? And the Kraft Rabbi used to say, you know, if I am you because you are you, and you are you because I am I, then I am not I and you are not you. Should I say that again? If I am you because you are you, and you are you because I am I, then I am not I and you are not you. And if I'm looking,
you want to be me,
right? If I'm trying to discover myself just by comparing myself to you, then I'm not me. If you're just trying to be you by yourself to me, then you're not you either. But if I am I and you are you, if I'm looking to discover what's unique about me, that doesn't mean we're not supposed to look at others for inspiration. We should. Another person really succeeds in something, look at it and try to copy it, but say, I'm trying to copy it to make me that person. I'm not trying to copy it to be you, I'm trying to copy it to bring out me. You know? It's like when you play basketball against someone who's better than you. It's not because you want to be them, you want to be you. You want to bring out your strengths. That's the idea. And when you see someone else could do it, you'll discover something inside of you that you didn't know was there. That's because you're looking to discover you. But in relationships, it's so important that you got to know there's something unique about you. Because we know there's something unique about you, you feel worthy of love. God, if I don't feel unique, like, how can I feel you really love me? And on this side, if I don't feel there's something special about me, how can I feel the other, my spouse, whomever, really loves me? You got to discover the specialness in you. So let's review. What did we say? We have 10 commandments, 5 relationship principles. What are they? They are, number 1, existence. Recognize the other exists outside of you. Number 2, uniqueness. There's something unique about the other which can't be replaced. No idolatry, no adultery. Number 3, respect property, God's name, or don't kidnap, which means boundaries in a relationship. Don't trample. Number 4, look for what's true about the other. See the whole picture, emet. And number 5, honor your parents, don't covet. Recognize that your uniqueness is something so special, you don't need something that belongs to someone else. And your parents are really special because they brought you here. Recognize there's a uniqueness about you. And if you recognize that, you can feel truly worthy of the love the other offers. So, B'ezrat Hashem, I hope we demonstrated something tonight. 10 Commandments, 5 relationship principles. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for inviting me to speak to you. Thank you for staying to the end. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you, everybody.